We are talking Ape versus Monster. Of course, this is a Mockbuster movie from the Asylum. Now, this one stars Eric Roberts and is clearly meant to come off the back of the success of the big budget Godzilla vs. Kong movie. Although this one actually reminds me more of the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film Rampage. It actually has more in similar to that than it does Godzilla vs. Kong. But ultimately it is a big ape fighting a giant lizard. Well, kind of. Let's discuss. So what's the story? So we have a ape which has been sent off into a space mission in the 80s, comes back down to Earth in modern times and is somehow mutated through some type of alien goo and growing bigger. And so he's going to put in a kind of like watching facility, you know, military facility. But on the crash site there was some of this kind of alien goo that is spilled out onto the Earth, and this Gila monster ends up drinking from it and himself starts to turn into a giant monster. And then we have the obviously these two sort of kaiju-esque style creatures fighting it out. And in the meantime, we have human characters kind of running around, really taking the bulk of the running time. So let's discuss. So in case you were unawares, I'm sure most of you aren't, but the Asylum is a very, very low budget production company that kind of puts out what they call mockbuster movies, which are kind of films that are intended to be riffs on kind of higher budget movies. They'll kind of make a similar themed film and name it something similar to a big budget movie to try and confuse unwary buyers and thinking that they're buying the actual kind of film and things like this. And this is ultimately how they make their money. The movies are always kind of low budget, always quick productions, and are rarely any good. What can we say about Ape versus Monster that's any good? Okay, so I've been watching the Asylum films for some time. I don't watch all of them because, to be honest, they are a little torturous from time to time, and you see too many of them that you kind of your brain melts. But I will say the CGI with the Gila monster, the kind of the Godzilla-like sort of creature, isn't too bad for a very low budget kind of independent, you know, movie. I thought at least that creature was actually relatively well rendered, and certainly in some scenes, but in some scenes kind of looks quite effective. The movie has a surprising amount of plot in regards to the origins of, you know, where these kind of things come from, and then kind of like the shenanigans that the kind of the humans have to kind of do to just, you know, basically to kind of fill out the running time. But there's a reasonable amount of plot here. I'm not saying it makes sense, but there's a relatively high amount of kind of like twists and turns and things within the film. What else can we say? I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a blank now. That's pretty much it. So this movie was terrible. Terrible! Oh, every time I think, the Asylum may have grown as a company. Nope. When they do some original films, and they do some original films, mainly horror, there are one or two. There's even a couple of mockbusters, which I think aren't too bad. But man, this is going kind of right back to their kind of just general crap. So I've mentioned, I think the CGI on the kind of the Godzilla creature isn't too bad, but man, the ape creature is terrible, and he's the kind of the more of the star, if you like. But don't kid yourself. These creatures are barely on screen. If you thought Godzilla 2014 there wasn't much Godzilla in it, there's even less kind of creatures in here. Obviously, that's the most expensive part of these kind of movies. So their kind of screen time is minimal, and you've probably seen it all in the trailer. So yeah, minimal CGI special effects, and they are not too bad for a low budget film for the kind of Godzilla creature, for the King Kong creature. Terrible, absolutely terrible. But that's not the only thing that's terrible. The movie makes no sense, and you may not care if you're watching an Asylum picture, let's be honest. But, you know, we're led to believe this. I mean, I can get, there's alien goo, fine. You know, that's not... that's fine. Don't know where it came from, but there's alien goo, whatever. I can accept that for an Asylum picture. But what seems a little unbelievable, even more so, is the fact that we're not addressing this ape has been in space for 30 years without any kind of food or air, and has managed to survive, crash landing onto Earth and stuff like this, and just not kind of addressed at all. And then when it lands on Earth, it's only a relatively, it's bigger but not huge. And it's why is it growing now? Oh, it's just there's just so many. It just hasn't been thought out. But that's the MO with the Asylum. I don't really expect Asylum movies to be thought out, but they, this one is just a good example of it, if it not being thought out. And the other thing, and this is another major problem for me, and this is true of Asylum films. It's also true of a lot of kind of like TV science fiction movies that you'll get on like the Sci-Fi channel, where they have the conceit where there's some type of CGI monster. To save money on doing the monsters, the main plot of the movie is kind of shenanigans with the humans. Humans doing things, and this movie is just like 90% that, with characters you don't care about, and the acting. Oh Christ, the acting! I mean, they don't even try in these films, it seems. I mean, there's no real attempt to at least have, it's a silent picture, who cares? Literally, we'll just take the first take and that'll do. It's just awful. It's awful. I like B movies, but man, this shit tests my patience from time to time. I suppose the only other thing I would say on a positive note is that there is a little bit of an anti-animal cruelty message in there, which is fine, but it's super heavy-handed, and it's like, we're meant to believe this like woman's impassionate speech about kind of, oh my god, but they shouldn't be sending, creatures into space, for tests on humans. Like, well, that's not going to change, is it? Because clearly that's what they're going to do. What they're going to send humans into space, just like, Jesus Christ. So it's like this kind of like, this kind of like pitying moment where it's meant to be all emotional, but it's like, well, they're obviously going to have to do animal testing. I'm not saying that. It's not cruel, but that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I'm not. If I think like makeup and stuff, maybe you could argue, but for kind of like medical and scientific research with this, it would happen. 3 out of 10. This is a load of old bollocks. I think 3 out of 10 is pretty generous, but I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.